Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Hope everyone's staying safe and having a good Thanksgiving down there. First things first, Grant, how are you?
I'm good, Jason. I'm enjoying the slow day today with all the football and beer and turkey consumption going on south of the border. That's given me a chance to play catch up.
Yeah, no, it's great. Get to catch up on all the work you've been putting off and putting off, and the emails that stacked up. I know. So, well, that's great. We were getting some feedback. People talking about, of course, the financials. Mainly people just want to hear from yourself. Just a quick glance over the highlights, and so you can shed some light on the financials from, of course, the CEO position. So I'll kind of throw it to you. Is there any highlights you wanted to start with and kind of say to people that and pretend or assume, I guess, that people haven't even looked at them?
Well, sure. I think the key pieces that we wanted to focus on and did focus on was the year over year growth. This time last year, effectively all the money was just going into development and the uplisting, so the revenues were, for all intents and purposes, zero. Now the revenues, even with COVID and the impact it had on Sport Nation, the revenues for 2 months in the first Q this year were coming in around $250,000 year over year. We went from effectively zero in the same time frame to around $250,000, and that was just getting rebooted post COVID, shutting down pro sports on our Sport Nation platform. We're now up to 800,000 in terms of gross gaming revenue net gaming revenue in November, and we'll be back to that million a month by year end, which is what we forecasted. And then, of course, we expect to continue that type of rise. We are moving Sport Nation onto our multi-license, so it can go multi-jurisdictional, and we expect that to accelerate revenues as well. So we are on track to hit our 13 million revenues, which we gave as guidance, which is 13 million higher than the previous year. So we're pretty excited about that. We highlighted that we have multiple licenses. We are moving forward with getting our new Vive platform submitted to the New Jersey testing labs for launch in Q1. That's still on track, which will be, again, another exciting event for us. Those were some of the major talking points that we want to get into. We are, of course, frustrated that the share price has not responded, even though the company has delivered on all their commitments from the uplisting. But all we can do is just continue to deliver, and hopefully that the market starts to respect the fact that that's exactly, we do what we say.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, sometimes it's nice, and maybe we should do a little clip on this as well. But sometimes it's nice to take a step back. It's easy to get caught up in the day to day, but to look at where you were a year ago to where of course, esports entertainment is today is insane. Like you said, a year ago, or at this time, you're saying, yeah, we've got no revenues. We're trying to uplist, blah 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 blah. And then this year, you've got an uplisting to the Nasdaq. You're doing insane revenue relative. And really, it looks like there's a lot of blue sky potential. You're moving over gaming licenses. You're picking up really the people behind the scenes. And, again, I think COVID has helped gaming in terms of you've got these stadiums, you've got these normal sports teams obviously pushing forward into esports. And hey, you guys are there closing some of those deals. So, really, I think it's been an insane year for esports entertainment. I agree with you. It looks like the stock's trailing a little bit, but hey, like you said, we just keep delivering, keep being an industry leader, and it should catch up.
Well, I agree. I mean, there's all we can really control is our effort to deliver on our commitments. We feel that we have done succinctly that. We get a lot of feedback that we have done that. It's just that it is a fairly complicated story for people to digest. And we think that's part of the issue. So we're working, obviously, Jason, we work with you to help us with our messaging. Most of the other, companies in the sector, if not all the other companies, it's an easy story to tell because they only do one thing.
Yeah.
The problem with that one revenue stream model is if anything disrupts that stream, the company's in terrible trouble. As you can imagine, if your primary business model was live events, 2020 has been a cataclysmic year. We've been, we're on the very short list of companies that, in terms of our growth and prospects, have benefited. COVID has had a positive effect on our potential growth. As you mentioned, the pro sports teams, they're reaching out. They're looking for solutions themselves because they run live events. And they recognize that esports is a great way for them to engage with their fans. And as you probably know, as most of your viewers probably know, almost every pro athlete is a gamer. They all have their PlayStations or Xboxes or more sophisticated gaming rigs, and they take them with them into the bubble. So when they're not on the court or the field, they're on their gaming rigs. They're playing. They stream online. So it's not a great stretch for them to
Yeah.
see the
I mean,
esports
to
kids.
give people a taste, right? I mean, Austin Matthews, there's ads of him promoting NHL. I mean, he's on the cover of the recent, NHL. He plays video games. He's even streams Call of Duty, so there's that side of it. You look at the other side, you've got Kevin Durant who plays, Call of Duty again, and some of them, and keep going. You've got the Richard Shermans and a ton of other, big time athletes. So yeah, gaming is kind of everywhere, and
Yeah,
whereas before it's becoming a lot more normal, right? And a lot of these big sports franchises are pushing it. But just taking this back to
absolutely.
financials, I guess I gotta ask you. You've had, I mean,
Sure.
you, the company, has had an explosive growth this year. What do you kind of expect for the following years? Of course, we talk on other videos about more pro sports teams joining, the potential with that. Of course, there's some blue sky here, but just because I have to do it, if I asked you, where do you expect to be next year or something along those lines, where do you hope to be? What would you say?
Well, definitely we're going to continue to sign additional agreements with sports teams. You've just mentioned Kevin Durant. As a matter of fact, he's one of the major owners of the Philly Union, who we just did an agreement with. So we're quite aware of his involvement both in esports and with Philadelphia Union. Um, we have given some very conservative. We feel our guidance is very conservative, and what we're basing that on is just finishing off the deals we have in hand with the companies that are represented behind me. Next year hitting that $43 million in revenue. That's just based on contracts that are in hand with them now. That doesn't forecast synergies we get. It doesn't forecast or take into account these teams. And some of these teams we expect to be 7-figure revenue generators for us. Absolutely. I mean, these fan bases, you look at AEG, there's 9 million fans in their social media network. So that's huge. We also have plans of additional acquisitions.
There's agreements already in hand, with Helix and GG Circuit that, you look at it, there's some huge value there, about 40 million. So that'll be a huge revenue growth for next year. And you said that's not including the synergies. And, it's very true. People talk about the kind of rising tide lifts all ships. You put all these things in a great basket. You've got synergies. These guys can work here. They can work here. There's additional revenues here. So it's great that, of course, kind of better together as these guys come over. Look, don't want to get too crazily into the weeds. I think these are some good highlights. Like we mentioned, we'll do a video on the kind of the blue sky, I like to call it, but really, what's the potential with esports entertainment? But I think you've covered a lot of good things in the finance or in the financials. Anything you wanted to say?
Sure. Just with the companies we're already on the table on my screen behind me, just working with that. No future deals, no more expansion, no more pro teams, no more synergies. Just based on contracts in hand, we'll be at EBITDA 2 million at the end of 2022. I don't think there's many companies in the esports space they can make that same claim, if
Agreed.
any.
Yeah. No, definitely agree with you. A lot of them are just burning through cash. So I think this hey, this is a good video. Hopefully I know we were getting feedback, just people wanted to hear what you had to say. And, again, for anyone watching this, if you've got questions, would love to, of course, get those answered, whether it's Grant or other members of the team, we can add on other people to these videos and do a more in-depth kind of financials video if we have to. But let us know if there's any questions, you can leave them below and we'll go from there. Grant, thanks so much.
Jason, always a pleasure.